A deceitful wife's lies unraveled as DNA tests and divorce documents brought an end to her deceptions permanently. The previous weeks had been challenging, my mind clouded by the wreckage of my crumbling marriage, and I drowned my sorrows in excessive Guinness. Ireland was meant to be my sanctuary, a respite to find tranquility amidst the verdant landscapes. Instead, I wandered aimlessly from one town to another, submerged in alcohol and transient conversations. The burden of what I abandoned in Albany caused me to question if abandoning everything, my career, my wife, my life, was the appropriate decision. However, that morning transformed everything. It shook me out of my lethargy and compelled me to face my predicament and my identity. The night prior had been much like the others, excess alcohol and memories I'd prefer to erase. I blundered back to a petite, alien room and fell asleep, disregarding what the day would hold. Unbeknownst to me, it started with a shock that would alter everything. "Wake up! Get up!" In a flurry, someone jostled me awake. "Wake up! The sergeant's having a heart attack." Panic set in as hands yanked me from my bed. "I'm awake now. What's going on?" "You're a doctor. You need to come immediately." I shot up, forgetting about my bare feet, and rushed down the hall towards an office. A woman in police uniform was performing CPR on a large man, also in uniform. I finally grasped that I was in a police station. I kneeled beside him, searching for signs of life, but found none. "Do you have a defibrillator?" I asked the woman. She dashed off to find it. I started chest compressions as I struggled to clear my mind, still affected by the Guinness I'd consumed. The woman returned with the defibrillator, and I hoped it functioned properly. "Prepare the pads and switch it on." I quickly opened his shirt, attached the pads, and activated the device. I was told to step back, press the button, zap. His body twitched, but there was no response. I attempted it again, zap, still nothing. Damn it. The third time, zap. Finally, the machine declared a regular heart rhythm. "Thank God," I breathed, confirming a faint yet steady heartbeat. "Did you call an ambulance?" I asked the policewoman. She mumbled in response. "Call it now," I insisted. She reached for her phone while I checked the sergeant's pulse and breathing. I started to remember I was in a police station, trying to recollect how I ended up there. It was just past 8 in the morning, and I had quickly sobered up from the night before when I got drunk at a pub. A few minutes later, the policewoman returned, stating that the ambulance would take another half hour as it was coming from Tralee. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and remnants of alcohol. I needed to use the bathroom. I turned to the nearby policewoman, instructing her, "Come here and place your hand on his chest." She sat down, placing her hand on the sergeant's chest. "I can feel his heart," she remarked. "Stay here while I go to the bathroom." "Where is it?" I inquired. She gestured towards the corner. I headed to the bathroom and attended to my needs. Upon returning to the hallway, I observed additional officers present. I approached a young constable. "Where on earth am I?" I inquired. "Guard this station," he responded. "I might have consumed too much alcohol last night." "What town is this, and how did I end up here?" I continued questioning. "You're in Castle Roy. Tommy and I transported you here after you blacked out at the pub. You seemed to be having a good time before you fainted." He smiled. "Oh no, you told everyone I fled from a prostitute." I moaned. The young constable chuckled. "Oh no." In the distance, I heard an ambulance approaching. The guard said, "You're American." "Is that correct?" he inquired. I winced. "Regrettably, yes." "They also claimed you are a doctor," he added. I grimaced further. The query seemed more like a statement. I acknowledged with a nod. "Yes." The paramedics stormed in and hastened towards the office where the sergeant was on the floor. After examining his pulse and respiration, my duties were completed. I watched them transfer him onto a stretcher and lead him to the ambulance, probably en route to Trelee's hospital. Subsequently, I sought for my boots and jacket, discovering them next to the bed where I had slumbered the previous night. I inquired of a nearby policewoman if I could depart, and she simply nodded. I seated myself, donned my boots, and unfurled my jacket, ensuring my wallet and phone were intact in the pockets. Upon my return to the main office, I observed everyone, some standing, others sitting, regarding me without uttering a word. It appeared any ruckus I had caused at the pub was forgotten, but I began to feel faint. "Does anyone know where I'm lodging?" I inquired. All four individuals fixated on the same location, and it became evident that my lodging was merely a few hundred yards from the station. En route, I attempted to clear my thoughts by taking several deep breaths. My priorities were straightforward: rest, a warm shower, coffee, and sustenance in that sequence. Acquiring a large water bottle on the journey, I consumed it swiftly. Upon arriving at the guest house, the benevolent proprietress welcomed me. Assuming I had returned from an evening of festivities at the pub, she inquired if I desired breakfast. She suggested roast potatoes, but also offered coffee, acknowledging my potential excesses from the previous night. I confessed to my indiscretion. The guard had been contacted when I failed to return after the pub closed. They reported that I was inebriated and tucked away in their care for safety. She smiled, left to prepare food, and her husband entered, smiling as well. "You've experienced a bustling day on a Sunday," he commented. Initially puzzled, I responded with confusion. He chuckled at my perplexity. "Someone told me you helped Sergeant O'Boy. It appears you saved his life." "Mary, come quickly, we have a hero with us," Bill said as she entered. "What is this, Bill?" she asked, curious. "This man saved Jerry by performing CPR and using an electronic device to restart his heart," he explained. I tried to minimize it. It was nothing significant, just a back problem. But they looked at me expectantly, seeking more information. All I desired was coffee and breakfast. "Could I have some coffee, please?" I inquired. She nodded, soon returning with a pot of coffee and a cup. I drank most of the coffee along with a large meal consisting of scrambled eggs, ham, fried tomatoes, beans, and toast. Everything tasted wonderful. I thought that perhaps Sergeant O'Boy had overindulged in these hearty Irish breakfasts throughout his life, leading to his heart attack. Following dinner, I made my way to my room, indulged in a prolonged hot shower, and settled down to organize my life. Let me share some details about myself. My name is Aaron Brown, aged 33, standing at 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighing approximately 170 pounds. I have black hair and blue eyes. Professionally, I am an orthopedic surgeon in Albany, a position I acquired after completing my surgical residency 2 years ago at University Hospital. I am married to Maylene McDonald Brown, an elementary school teacher who is also 32 and still has family in Albany. My parents retired to a North Carolina beach town last year for the pleasant weather and golfing opportunities. My sister Karen resides in Connecticut with her husband Dave and their two sons Ryan and Benjamin. My parents adore their grandchildren, particularly when they visit the beach. Now, let me answer your query. How did I end up in Ireland? Well, last night at the pub, I divulged more than I should about my issues, and now I'm confident that the entire town is aware of them. Her name was Maylene McDonald Brown, known to all as Maddie. I blurted out things I shouldn't have due to excessive Guinness consumption, acting like a truth serum. I departed Albany a month ago when my marriage disintegrated, and for the last 3 weeks, I've been traversing Ireland on a Honda dirt bike I acquired in Dublin. I divested or gifted most of my possessions back home, retaining only what would fit in my vehicle. A friend who had experienced something similar offered me advice before I left. Maddie is part of a large family with 2 brothers and a sister. Her parents are comfortably retired in Albany, but as a doctor, I've led a distinct life marked by long hours and minimal personal time, which took its toll on my marriage. My friend Dave Walters went through the same ordeal, leaving his unfaithful wife. He later remarried and found contentment with a remarkable woman from Germany. Regrettably, infidelity seems alarmingly prevalent among spouses of doctors. Maddie and I were wed for 4 years, but recently she gave birth to a biracial child who was not mine. In the delivery room, the truth struck me like a gut punch while holding Maddie's hand, preparing to sever the umbilical cord as she gave birth. The doctor's startled gaze conveyed the news. Overwhelmed, reality sank in as the baby was passed to Maddie. I exited the room and never spoke to Maddie again. Maddie's parents reached out, leaving numerous messages. Her mother inquired if I could pardon Maddie and be a father figure for the child. I questioned her, "Can you?" She remained silent, and that was our last interaction. A pregnancy resulting from another man isn't something easily dismissed with an apology. As I departed the hospital, I ensured the birth certificate identified the father as unknown, signed it, and moved on. Upon returning home, I packed essentials into my old Subaru Outback, some clothes, my iPad, items from medical school, and left, taking little else. On the kitchen table, I left my wedding ring and moved into a hotel near the hospital where I was employed, distinct from the one where Maddie had given birth. The following day, I embarked on my first full day in Castle Roy, a new locale. At the local tavern, after consuming alcohol and discussing my troubles, I encountered various townsfolk. Mrs. O'Boy, who deemed her husband as useless but shared an intriguing backstory, approached me at the boarding house to express gratitude for saving her spouse. She expressed a willingness to aid me in any way possible, and I informed her that I would assess Sergeant O'Boy's condition at the hospital in a day or two. Later, the mayor of Castle Roy, accompanied by local officials, visited to meet the American doctor who saved Sergeant O'Boy's life. The mayor, a robust woman in her late 50s, demonstrated political aptitude. We posed for a few official photographs, and she questioned my reasons for settling in this tranquil region of Ireland. I shared my ancestry, originating from the potato famine era and my great-grandfather's settlement in Albany. I added that this was my initial visit to Ireland and my intentions to discover the ring of Kerry and Killarney in the near future. The mayor inquired about my occupation. I disclosed being an orthopedic surgeon, primarily focusing on bone and joint repair with some general surgery background. Mary and Bill, the innkeepers, appeared knowledgeable suddenly about surgery. The mayor then questioned if I'd be returning to work in Albany soon. In response, I stated that I had resigned from the hospital and was taking a break here in Ireland. Frowning expressions ensued. A policewoman who had attempted to resuscitate Sergeant O'Boy was present. I complimented her efforts, asserting she could have succeeded without my assistance. She reddened, and everyone chuckled. The mayor then requested a private conversation with me in her office regarding a significant issue. Unaware of our discussion topic, I consented to meet her the following day. Post our encounter, I found myself somewhat bewildered. Ireland contrasts significantly with US. The terrain is astonishingly verdant, particularly in summer, and by September, with most tourists absent, roads were less crowded. I leisurely discovered quaint towns, appreciated the hospitable locals, delicious cuisine, and refreshing brews. Guinness, their national drink, is akin to Irish mother's milk. On that day, I spent relaxing at the boarding house, followed by an afternoon stroll. The slumber post Mrs. O'Boy and the mayor's visits was well deserved. That night, I moderated myself to only one beer pint with dinner. The following morning, I awoke early, had breakfast, and proceeded to the mayor's office. A woman who seemed to anticipate my arrival greeted me. "You must be the American doctor," she said. I acknowledged with a nod. "The mayor will arrive soon." I was instructed to sit down and wait for the mayor. As I sat there pondering my daily agenda, I was summoned. "Dr. Brown, the mayor has arrived. Please come in," I was informed. "Thank you." Upon entering, I greeted the mayor and seated myself on the couch. Coffee was requested, followed by some casual conversation. Eventually, she asked, "Did you have a pleasant evening, Dr. Brown?" Indeed, it was uneventful. I had dinner at the pub and made amends with the owner for my behavior on Saturday. I shared that I'd had too much to drink due to personal difficulties, but he showed understanding and even compensated me with dinner and a beverage as a gesture of gratitude for helping Sergeant O'Boy. The mayor acknowledged this, and I mentioned, "I will be departing later today if you have any concerns." "That's not why I called you here," she clarified. Intrigued, I inquired, "Then what did you wish to talk about?" "Dr. Brown, I am facing a challenge, and I need your assistance," she disclosed. "What could I possibly assist with in Castle Roy?" I asked, perplexed. "Are you suggesting I act as the town physician, Brown? you questioned, still uncertain. Indeed, that's the suggestion. We're in dire straits for a doctor. The closest one is nearly an hour away in Listowel. Many of our residents would greatly appreciate your assistance during this interim period. The health department assures they will send aid, but it may take some time. I'm not sure I am the ideal candidate. At present, we need any qualified medical professional, you said, uncertain. Dr. Brown, right now, we need any doctor we can get. You are precisely who we require, she insisted. I'm still unsure, you hesitated. Please ponder over it, but don't delay your decision excessively. We truly need your services, she implored. Spent numerous hours on the phone with officials in Dublin managing doctor distribution nationwide. They disclosed it might take a year or longer before another doctor is assigned to our region. Dr. Kennedy, aged and grappling with memory problems, has relocated to South Africa to live with his daughter and son-in-law, possibly residing near a nursing home. As a result, I initiated an investigation into the American doctor who arrived in our town. Remarkably, Garda uncovered extensive information on Dr. Brown within a single night, summarized in a brief dossier. Notable findings include his graduation from a medical school in New York State, ranking in the upper third of his class, and board certification as a surgeon. Additionally, I discovered some details about his personal life that provoked empathy towards his marital issues, which apparently led to his frequent visits to the local pub. Currently, I'm devising a plan to entice him to remain with us for several months. I've formulated a strategy and obtained prompt authorization from the Department of Health for Dr. Aaron Brown to practice medicine. In Ireland, I observed Dr. Brown departing from the mayor's office and approaching me. At that moment, I was not on duty and thus not wearing my uniform. Instead, I was dressed smartly in a white blouse, skinny jeans, and high-heeled boots. My hair was styled, and I had applied makeup. I wished to make a good impression. Standing at 5'8", with a fit physique from regular running, I called out, "Dr. Brown." He looked around to identify the source of the call. I then approached him and introduced myself, shaking his hand. "Good morning, Dr. Brown," I said. "It's a pleasure to meet you. Previously, I helped you with Sergeant O'Boy as the Constable Amelia Kelly." Oh my God, I thought. It was surprising that police uniforms could conceal one's identity. If not for her self-introduction, I wouldn't have recognized this woman, given our turbulent first encounter at the police station and my subsequent meeting with her in her uniform at the boarding house. At that moment, I was still recovering from a hangover, yet encountering Amelia was an unexpected delight. She had striking red hair that fell to her shoulders, a captivating face, and a physique that was hard to overlook, though I may have been too preoccupied previously to notice. "Dr. Brown," she called out, causing me to turn. Recognizing her as the constable who assisted during the Sergeant O'Boy rescue, she approached and greeted me. "Good morning, Dr. Brown. It's a pleasure to run into you here." She extended her hand, introducing herself as Amelia Kelly. My mind was momentarily frozen, and I stammered a response, mentioning my undecided plans before suggesting a possible hospital visit for Sergeant O'Boy, followed by a drive around the ring of Kerry. She smiled, proposing a trip to Tralee to see Jerry, inviting me along. "I don't wish to intrude," I replied. She reassured me, welcoming my company. We made our way to her VW Golf, and despite the unfamiliarity of driving on the left side of the road, it was less daunting on a motorcycle. The journey to Tralee in just 45 minutes felt like a blur. In my conversation with Amelia, I discovered she was raised in Castleroy. Her father was a local lawyer, and she resides in a town apartment. She's 27 years old, intends to attend law school, and is presently unattached. Amelia had been previously engaged to a semi-professional soccer player who departed for Spain, thereby ending their relationship. We briefly encountered Sergeant O'Boy. He mentioned that his wife and others had informed him about my actions that saved his life. He expressed his intention to abandon fried food, alcohol, shed weight, and commence running. Later, Amelia disclosed an inspector warned Jerry he would be compelled into early retirement unless he changed his lifestyle. "Improve," she said, as his wife was encouraging him to exercise. Tralee may not be a large town, but with 2 hospitals, it holds significance for the region. It's a town of approximately 25,000 inhabitants in County Kerry on the Dingle Peninsula. Dublin is located 3 hours east, while Killarney and Limerick are an hour south. I proposed to cover lunch if she would guide me on a tour, and Amelia consented. Familiar with Tralee due to her father's frequent work at the courthouse, she pursued political science at Trinity College in Dublin, specializing in EU defense policy and international relations. At lunch, I expected the standard queries. What brings an American to Ireland on a motorcycle? Where did you originate? Details about your family. Our conversation ensued. Neither of us mentioned my spouse or the topic from the pub that evening. I enjoyed a wonderful day with Amelia, yet didn't reach the Ring of Kerry. Later, at Castle Roy, she dropped me off at the guest house. I thanked her for the ride and tour. I expected more encounters with Constable Amelia Kelly and looked forward to them. 2 days later, I embarked on my trip around the Ring of Kerry. The landscape was awe-inspiring. After an early start, I grabbed a quick bite, mounted my bike, and journeyed to Killarney, then Killorglin, where I paused for gas, coffee, and scrumptious pastries. Adhering to Bill's suggestion from the guest house, I circumnavigated the ring anti-clockwise to steer clear of buses packed with tourists. The day was breathtaking, marked by numerous pauses to absorb the picturesque landscapes. My attention was wholly engrossed in the present, shunning any potential distractions. Ireland is undeniably enchanting. Every Irish day concludes with rain, and as I returned, the sky opened up, pouring down. I sought shelter under a tree to weather the storm, enjoying a soda, when suddenly there was a loud crash nearby. A puff of smoke rose from a wrecked vehicle. Acting swiftly, I discarded my bottle in a ditch, donned my helmet, and sped towards the accident site, approximately 400 meters away. A minibus and a passenger car had collided head-on. Spotting the badly damaged car with smoke billowing from the engine, I understood the passengers needed to evacuate promptly to prevent a fire. The driver's door was stuck, but the back door had sprung open upon impact. I entered the vehicle and discovered a bleeding man at the wheel and an unconscious woman in the passenger seat. 2 individuals displayed signs of life, prompting me to summon 4 ambulances and enlist bystanders to manage the smoke with a fire extinguisher. In the minibus, the driver bore cuts and lacerations from shattered glass, while elderly passengers were in shock. One woman seemed to have a broken collarbone due to the seatbelt, but her concern was for her brother-in-law, who had a cancer history. Despite the pandemonium, their chatty demeanor indicated hopeful signs of resilience. Back at the car, some individuals provided blankets to keep the wounded warm. A man sustained a compound fracture in his leg, so I applied a tourniquet to stem the bleeding. With assistance, we gently removed the injured man and woman from the vehicle and placed them on the road. The agonizing wait ensued as ambulances were dispatched from Tralee. Before the paramedics arrived, I dressed the wounds of the minibus driver, who introduced himself as Fergus, a retired accountant occasionally working as a part-time driver. Upon arrival of ambulances, paramedics took charge and led me to the hospital with needed details. At the hospital, one paramedic identified me as the American doctor who saved Castle Roy's police sergeant. After assessing the accident victims and consulting with the emergency physician, I returned to Castle Roy. Upon reaching the guest house, it was nighttime. Bill and Mary welcomed me at the door. "Ah, you're back, Dr. Brown." "Hello, Bill." "Hello, Mary," I responded. "Yes, a bit delayed. Needing cleanup and something edible. Hopefully, there's an eatery nearby that offers non-fried options." "Indeed," Mary said, "an Italian place lies about a kilometer from here, near the market. By the way, some reporters from Killarney were here seeking you just now." I furrowed my brow. What was their purpose? "They learned of your accident involvement," Mary clarified. "I merely halted to aid a car accident," I explained. Bill, who had been listening attentively, exclaimed suddenly with bright eyes and a grin. "Apparently, you're being hailed as a hero for single-handedly saving 7 lives. I just provided first aid," I humbly replied. They are currently in the hospital in Tralee, and they will recover. Bill gestured towards the door. Reporters are waiting for you at the pub, hoping to interview you. He then hurried off, grabbing his hat. He informed them he'd return when you were back, Mary added. They're eager to hear your story. I sighed dramatically. I could really use a meal, a glass of wine, a hot shower, and some rest now. I smiled at Mary. I suppose I'm off to the pub then. I exited through the door, but in truth, I was not heading towards the pub. Instead, I journeyed in the opposite direction, aiming to dine before the reporters found me. I managed to secure a meal before they tracked me down. In the group, Bill appeared to be in charge. Jim needed to locate his client Aaron, who was apparently somewhere in Ireland. He had Aaron's phone number, distinctively Irish with a 353 prefix. Jim had crucial information to share and wanted to know Aaron's next move. He elected to call him. Aaron, where are you? Asked Jim. An Ireland man, Aaron replied. Where specifically? Jim inquired more precisely. In a small southwestern town named Castleroy on the coast, Aaron explained. Jim went straight to business. I've got some news that you won't appreciate. Maddie is reluctant to collaborate regarding the divorce. Aaron promptly responded. She can forget it. She needs to find another man for the fatherhood role. It won't be me, Jim retorted. That won't happen, Aaron countered. My investigator has verified that someone else is the baby's father. The gym instructor at the nearby high school, where Maddie teaches, is also the soccer coach. This information seemed unimportant to Aaron. I don't care who he is, he replied indifferently. However, Jim persisted, aware of the gravity of the situation. Listen, he's married with 2 children and can't financially support Maddie or her child. So why does this concern me? I have no intention of resuming my role as a clueless spouse, Aaron stated, his irritation evident. Jim sighed before delivering more troubling news. Well, she wants child support from you. Aaron was taken aback. Is she serious? He questioned. Jim confirmed the news. Yes. Aaron wanted to assess his chances of having to pay. What are the odds? Jim responded cautiously. It's uncertain. Paternity shouldn't be an issue, but courts frequently assume that a child born during a marriage belongs to the husband unless you take legal action to have your parental rights revoked. Without hesitation, Aaron decided. Take legal action, go to court, and have my parental rights revoked. I left the birth certificate as unspecified father, ensure that doesn't alter. I will, Jim pledged. It might be best if you stay put for a while. That could give her lawyer an opportunity to summon you to court and press for reimbursement. Aaron advised him. Don't fret. I'll be here temporarily. Ireland is breathtaking, Jim. You ought to go on a holiday, have a drink, appreciate the landscapes. Jim considered the suggestion, but declined. I appreciate it, but my clients rely heavily on me. Maybe next year. Take care, Aaron. Later, Jim, Aaron said before ending the call. She assumes I'll comply with her whims. Not going to happen. She chose her path and must bear its consequences. I won't remain married to someone who disrespected me so profoundly that she conceived another man's child and expects me to accept it. Absolutely not. The mayor of Castleroy arrived promptly. Ah, there you are. No need to wait long. Good morning, Madam Meyer, I said, less than pleased to see her. You're truly heroic, she expressed, grinning. Why do you say that? I inquired, puzzled. Because you rescued 7 individuals from the car crash. No need for false modesty. Your actions are making headlines this morning. It wasn't too severe. 3 managed to leave on their own. 1 sustained a broken collarbone and another had several cuts. The passengers in the car were worst off, but they'll recuperate. At least no one was killed, which is what truly matters. Now I could use some coffee and more sightseeing. Have you given your thoughts to my proposition? I've confirmed with Dublin, and they're ready to grant a 1-year temporary license for your practice here. Castleroy needs you, Doctor. Please stay and assist us, she appealed almost desperately. I'll take more time to explore the region and get back to you. How about that? Agreed, But please consider the influence you could wield here. We may be a small town, but we're a decent one, and we require your skills, she asserted sincerely. I nodded. I'll ponder it over, I responded, then departed. To clear my thoughts, a bike ride seemed the ideal solution. Albany's predicament might prolong my stay up to half a year, allowing Dublin enough time to find a permanent physician. Time will tell. Mounting my motorbike, I headed towards Killarney in search of food and solitude. After discussing matters with Jim, returning to Maddie no longer seemed part of my scheme. Each day I stayed absent, gave her more room to contemplate her actions, if she regretted them at all. Yet, one fact was undeniable: I wouldn't return to her. Lunch was satisfying, and the journey was effortless. On my way back to Castle Roy, my phone vibrated. I pulled over to check it. Jim had messaged a link to a news article, claiming I was a hero. His voicemail confirmed, "Man, you're a lifesaver in Ireland. The news is buzzing about you. I'll forward the video." Amelia left a message asking me to call when I returned from riding. Back in Castle Roy, I headed to my room at the boarding house, declining Mary's offer for tea. After showering and changing, I visited the mayor's office to arrange a meeting. The secretary called out the mayor as she asked if I had made my decision. I informed her that I would remain in Castle Roy to address the doctor shortage. She warmly embraced me, expressing her hope I wouldn't regret it. However, I quickly made clear there were conditions. Her expression changed slightly as she realized this wasn't entirely within her control. "And what are your conditions?" she asked, trying to conceal her worry. I assured her they were not significant and proceeded to list them, noting her nod and jotting down my requirements. Upon finishing, I inquired, "So, do you still want me?" She replied enthusiastically, "Yes, absolutely. All items on the list are achievable. Most have already been established. You merely need to begin implementation. News travels swiftly in this small town, both good and bad." The mayor revealed that Aaron accepted the position as the district doctor, and by the next day, word had spread like an inferno. Before long, a queue of patients was forming outside his office. Dr. Kennedy's patient files were kept there, as the nurse had retired and the building was sealed for security purposes. With the mayor hiring a fresh secretary for Aaron, a recent high school graduate seeking employment, the local travel nurse practitioner could now visit more frequently due to Aaron's presence. Approximately 35 years old, divorced Laura, the traveling nurse practitioner, is a mother of a 4-year-old girl. Her ex-husband worked in Dublin and had an affinity for wandering, leading to their separation. After securing employment, Laura relocated to Killarney and resides near Castle Roy. A tall, attractive blonde, slightly heavier than myself, entered the office, wrinkling her nose at the musty smell. Nicole, the fresh-faced administrator, had recently graduated, and this was her first real job. Her mother, proudly dressed for the occasion, appeared to be in her early 40s, eager to make a good impression. "The office needs a thorough cleaning and some fresh air," Nicole remarked as she prepared to tackle the task. With braces still on her teeth, she was tasked with organizing the office, creating an inventory list, arranging for deliveries, and logging into the health department system. However, it dawned on her that she lacked a stethoscope and the authority to prescribe medication, necessitating a few days to get things in order, despite the locals' expectation of immediate action. Dr. Brown," shouted Nicole from up front. "What's happening?" I asked. "You need to come out here immediately." "What's wrong?" "Hurry up," she added. I quickly made my way to the waiting area and saw a man with a towel wrapped around his arm, looking pale, and a woman standing beside him. She handed me a plastic bag, inside which I could see what appeared to be a severed finger through the clear plastic. The man had cut off his finger in a tractor engine, the woman said, her voice filled with distress. This was my first real patient in Ireland. I directed them to the examination room and instructed Nicole to contact the hospital in Tralee for reattachment and to request an ambulance. With only essential equipment at hand, I treated the man's wound and prepared him for transportation. His pinky and ring finger were missing. The ring finger was in the bag, surrounded by ice. After an hour, the patient was on his way to the hospital, and I had managed to stabilize him despite the limited resources available. Afterward, nurse practitioner Laura, named Laura, dropped by momentarily. Despite her busy schedule, she didn't linger long but handed me her business card. Nicole mentioned that Laura was a local single mom, which I jotted down for future consideration as I too was looking for a place to live. The boarding house wasn't terrible, yet I yearned for my own space, specifically a compact, furnished one-bedroom apartment with an acceptable kitchen and a parking spot for my motorcycle. I contacted real estate agent Josephine Landers, and in quick succession, she found the ideal 500-square-foot apartment for me. In such tight-knit communities, word travels swiftly, and she had already arranged everything. The apartment boasted numerous windows, a spectacular view, and even a balcony. Josephine had anticipated my needs meticulously, even providing linens and towels. "The town has stores that can fulfill any of your requirements," she offered with a warm smile. Eventually, I expressed gratitude to Mary and Bill at the boarding house before transferring my possessions to the new apartment. Prepared my sleeping area, filled the refrigerator, and purchased a bottle of wine, an uncommon habit of mine. Upon settling, there came a knock at the door. Josephine arrived at the station, saying, "All set. Here's the address." She presented me with a slip containing the apartment where Aaron was residing. I pocketed it and returned home to refresh following my shift. After a cleansing shower to remove the day's grime, I donned tight jeans, a sleeveless top, and applied some makeup on my eyes, then departed. I phoned a Chinese eatery, requested dinner, retrieved it, and navigated to the address Josephine provided. I rang the bell. After a brief interval, I heard, "Hello, how may I assist you?" I chuckled. "Police, open up." "What in the world?" The door opened, so I proceeded upstairs, saying jokingly, "We heard someone might have broken in, so I came to investigate." He smiled back. "Do you typically supply food for intruders?" "Only those I favor," was my response, accompanied by a smile. In another person's bed, I acknowledged it was my temporary residence and found myself not solitary. Glancing at my phone, I noticed it was past time to rise. Quietly rousing Amelia, I murmured, "I must leave." She stretched and questioned the hour. 6:39, I replied. "I need to prepare for work." I left for the bathroom, took care of business, and activated the shower. Moments later, Amelia followed. That's when everything started. Why can't people recognize the evident? Because they choose not to. Maylene stubbornly denies Aaron's separation. Their marital affair with a teacher and soccer coach resulted in a child, causing their split. Is it really that difficult to comprehend? Yet, she persists in refusing to acknowledge Aaron's parting. I submitted the divorce documents and forwarded copies to her, urging her lawyer to scrutinize them so we could finalize the terms. It's a straightforward divorce, but she insists on prolonging it, which will only escalate her legal expenses. Aaron's departure indicates his intention, and a divorce hearing in New York Supreme Court is scheduled for the coming week. I possess DNA evidence and photographs proving the child isn't Aaron's, and I am seeking a court order to compel the genuine father to submit a DNA sample, thereby impeding any child support claims against Aaron. Marriage counseling was proposed by Maylene, but it necessitates mutual consent, which Aaron declined. Moreover, Maylene demanded Aaron's location and contact details, which I declined to disclose, citing attorney-client privilege. Her lawyer hinted at taking legal action concerning this matter, but it proves ineffective. In addition, Maylene visited my office with a baby, hoping Aaron would be an excellent parent. The child resembled any other toddler except her lack of resemblance to Aaron. I'm contemplating having the baby appear in court so the judge can make a determination. Maylene appears driven by monetary motives for wanting Aaron back. The child's father, a teacher and soccer coach, has a spouse and children, and he is not financially affluent. They make ends meet on his teaching salary and her income as a business manager at a small dealership. They are neither rich nor comfortably off, struggling with their mortgage payments and the maintenance of 2 cars. Maylene envies Aaron's earnings, but she will not acquire it. Erin has renounced all possessions. She is yet to comprehend this fact. She owns the house, the car, and all its contents. She could sell it all and downsize to a smaller residence if she chooses. The house is on the verge of foreclosure, but Erin has relinquished her rights to it. Upon sale, there should be sufficient funds for a reasonable deposit on a humble condo. This predicament revolves around money for her. Laura Tompkins was lost in thought, pondering her trip to meet the new American doctor, Aaron Brown. Mayor Castleroy had convinced Brown to remain and succeed Dr. Kennedy, who had retired after committing several significant errors, some of which had negatively impacted patients. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief as Kennedy departed. Previously, Laura had encountered Aaron Brown. He was handsome and more than just an average general practitioner. He was a surgeon. News about him had circulated rapidly, particularly regarding his tumultuous divorce situation. Even the mayor requested a background check, and the medical staff in Dublin validated his qualifications. Unmarried women in the area were already streaming to his office, often with seemingly minor illnesses that necessitated undressing for an examination. Despite her hectic work schedule and daughter, Laura planned to find time to visit his office under the guise of discussing healthcare difficulties. It would provide her an opportunity to spend time alone with him, and she intended to dress smartly for the occasion. As she drove to her next patient, her phone rang. She answered via the car's system. "Hello," Laura said. "Hi, is this Laura Tompkins?" a male voice inquired. "Yes," she responded. "Who's calling?" "Good morning, I'm Aaron Brown, filling in as the physician at Castleroy," he stated. "Dr. Brown, what can I assist you with?" Laura replied, thoughts already starting to take shape. "I was thinking we could discuss the local health issues," Aaron suggested. "I'll only be here for a few months until a permanent doctor takes over, but I'm worried about not being familiar with the usual procedures. I could use your guidance." "That sounds like a good idea. When would you prefer to talk?" she inquired. "Whenever suits you," Aaron responded. "I'll manage to find a suitable time, as this is important to me," Laura said, taking a moment to consider. "I'm currently driving, but I'll contact you later to arrange a mutually convenient time. Does that work for you?" "That plan sounds ideal. I truly value your assistance," Aaron affirmed as the call ended. Laura started forming her strategy. It might take some time to put into action, but she was patient. And who knows, maybe Aaron Brown had his own ideas too. Time would reveal the answers. My secretary is inundated with requests for appointments with the doctor, often finding people waiting outside my office upon arrival. A majority of the patients are women, leading me to consider that they might feel more at ease with a female physician. Nurse practitioner Laura Tompkins could potentially be a suitable alternative for many of them, particularly for routine matters. I will reach out to her and discuss if we can collaborate more efficiently. 2 days later, Laura extended an invitation for dinner at her home. Unable to resist the allure of a homemade meal, I accepted. The residence was nearby, and I brought both red and white wine, unaware of her preference. Upon knocking, a young girl around 4 opened the door, exhibiting a blend of curiosity and astonishment. She exclaimed, "Mommy, the American is here." Laura welcomed me cordially, with her daughter timidly standing beside her. 30-year-old Laura, roughly 5 feet 9 inches tall, with long dark hair and a slender build, was captivating. For a moment, I was speechless until recalling the wine I'd brought. Addressing her, "Hello, I'm Aaron, and who might you be?" received a response from the young girl. "I'm Matilda, 4 years old, and my favorite book is Winnie the Pooh." "Nice to meet you, Matilda," she replied. "Tigger is my favorite," I responded, passing the wine to Laura. She smiled and said, "Mrs. Billings has a knack for wine. Would you mind opening the white and pouring us some, unless beer suits you better?" Grinning, I said, "Wine will do just fine," uncorking the bottle as Matilda watched me attentively. "Are you drinking wine too?" I asked playfully. Laughing, she clarified, "No, not kids. They drink juice. I'll have some orange juice, please." Laura prepared dinner, beaming all along. I suggested helping her cook, but was instead occupied by Matilda, who asked me to assist with coloring her farm animals instead. When I attempted to paint a pig red, she firmly corrected me. Pigs are beige, not red. Dinner consisted of beef stew paired with fresh cookies, and we continued to drink wine afterward. Later, Matilda was instructed to get ready for bed and clean her teeth. She returned and stated, "I plan to read you a bedtime story, Winnie the Pooh." Laura agreed, allowing Matilda to retrieve a book. While I read to her in the living room, Laura cleaned up the kitchen. Observing this, I thought, this is what a genuine family feels like. This is authentic life. Erin quickly grew fond of my daughter despite her small stature. However, she failed to win over her father. I rarely invite men into my home, especially to dine with me and my daughter, but this instance was unique. By the time he arrived, I had already gained a sense of who Erin was through various sources and his actions since then. The fact that he was fleeing an unfaithful wife made him understandable. He empathized with the pain I had endured. I left Matilda in Dublin with her disrespectful father. He didn't desire a daughter or the burden of family life, which proved unfortunate for him. I too was aware of Amelia Kelly as a potential rival. She's younger and more attractive, excels with men. However, in a head-to-head contest, I held an edge. I understood Dr. Aaron Brown's preferences and his expressions while reading. Dinner with Laura, according to Matilda, was outstanding, and encountering Matilda herself was captivating. After midnight, I returned to my apartment, took a shower, and went to bed. The upcoming day seemed busy based on the recent trends. As soon as I got comfortable in bed, my phone rang. The caller was from the US, but labeled as unknown. I hesitated to answer, but feared it might be my parents. So I answered, "Hi, Aaron, is that you?" Maddie's voice was unmistakable, and I instantly regretted picking up. Maddie said, "If you have something to say, communicate through Jimmy. I don't wish to converse with you." I retorted, my tone resolute. "Maddie, don't hang up. Let me speak," she begged. "Maddie, our conversation seems concluded. You've expressed your points thoroughly." I replied, terminating the call and blocking the number instantly. "I've learned there's competition for Dr. Brown's affections. Nurse Hottie is a contender. She's alluring and personable, but my advantage lies in being unmarried with no children. I need to devise a strategy and plot my next course of action. That woman is proving troublesome. My salary doesn't cover putting up with her relentless disrespect. Despite repeated warnings that he wouldn't speak to her, she persists. What irritates me the most is that she cheated on him, became pregnant, and now wants Aaron to disregard all of it and return to her. She's delusional. Aaron has just informed me that she somehow obtained his number in Ireland and called him. He wishes for a restraining order, but obtaining one without the threat of physical harm is challenging. I'm trying to persuade the judge, but I've cautioned Aaron not to entertain high hopes. Over 3 weekends, Aaron Brown had dined at my home thrice. On a Saturday, he escorted Matilda and me for a walk and picnic, which turned out splendidly. Our destination was Killarney National Park, where we trod some trails, with Matilda occasionally perched on Aaron's shoulders. We savored our meal at the Ladies' View Cafe, followed by a visit to Torque Falls, capturing moments for him to share with his parents. That night, as Matilda dozed off, we shared our first intimate encounter. The apprehension, being my first romantic encounter since the divorce, was palpable. We stayed over and woke up together. The subsequent morning, Jimmy phoned to enlighten me on the progress of my divorce. My ex-wife appears oblivious to my lack of desire for reconciliation, more so after she bore a child with another man. "Jimmy," I exclaimed, "what's the ruckus?" He hesitated before responding, "I wish I could tell you." Jimmy mentioned his efforts to get her to finalize the papers have been unsuccessful. "So we're shifting to Plan B," he said. "What exactly is Plan B?" I asked, unsure of his next move. "I'll return to court to file for a different reason," Jimmy explained. "I'll present the situation with the child to the judge and see if that speeds things up." He added that he could file for another reason, but it wouldn't make sense since I left. "It should only take a year in New York," he said, "but a judge might interpret it differently due to your departure." "What about Plan A?" I asked. "Wasn't that the correct approach?" I questioned further. Yes, I thought so too, Jimmy replied, but the judge suggested you returning home for counseling. I told her you have a job abroad, and she inquired about your return to the US. Feeling frustrated, I said, just grant me a divorce, however it happens. Just do it. Jimmy inquired with worry, are you returning? I replied firmly, not as long as I am married to her. I thought I heard Jimmy exclaim, oh dear. Jimmy, please see to it, I implored him. I'm trying, Aaron replied. To learn his whereabouts, I contacted Aaron's mother, who revealed he was in Ireland. All I need now is to locate him, travel there, and sort things out. I am confident that a conversation with Aaron will help. We had been married for 4 years when I began seeing Roger. I acknowledge Roger was a mistake, but I felt single with Aaron, always at the hospital. We often discussed starting a family, and when I informed Aaron I was pregnant, he was overjoyed. He assisted in painting and decorating the baby's room, constantly bringing new items home, even a baseball glove, planning to teach our child, regardless of gender, baseball. Aaron will come to see that leaving us was a mistake. He will love the baby when he holds her, I am certain. Lately, Roger has been evading me. He doesn't respond to my phone calls, and upon visiting the school, he fled immediately upon seeing me. I ponder if his wife is aware of our relationship, which could be the reason for this behavior. I must locate Aaron precisely in Ireland so I can fly to him. A hospital in Tralee has requested my assistance with an accumulation of surgeries due to their orthopedic doctor being absent with cancer. I agreed to contribute for 3 days to alleviate the backlog. As I was preparing to depart for Tralee on my motorcycle, another call came through. An emergency had occurred. A young man was involved in a motorcycle accident after colliding with a car at high speed, causing severe injuries. If not treated promptly, he risked losing both arms. Moments before departure, Constable Amelia Kelly arrived in a police vehicle. The hospital urgently called us, she said. With no helicopter accessible, I hopped into the car and we sped to Tralee, covering the 27 kilometers in a short time. She left me at the hospital with a brief, "Go save a life." I hurried to the emergency room, assessed the 18-year-old, and began preparing for surgery. For the next 11 hours, I reattached his arms while the neurosurgeon addressed his head injuries and the plastic surgeon focused on his face. Exhaustion set in as I needed the restroom, food, and sleep. It had been a stressful day since learning about Maddie's affair. Meeting with the scheduling nurse, we discussed plans for the following days, including 8 surgeries, 2 per day. It would be challenging, considering it had been over a month since my last surgery, but I decided to persevere. The Irish had shown me kindness, and I felt obligated. The nurse informed me they'd require my assistance every fortnight to keep up with the surgeries, which I agreed to. After completing my duties, I found myself without a ride back to Castle Roy, so I contacted Amelia. 30 minutes later, she arrived in a police car, her hair pulled back into a ponytail. She appeared lovely, yet left me uncertain about my actions. 4 months passed, concluding my day with the last patient as I dismissed Nicole and organized the office. An unexpected sound echoed from the door. Startled, I called out, "Office closed," but a familiar voice replied, "Hello, Aaron." Looking up, I was taken aback to see Maddie standing there. "Maddie, how did you locate me?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. It took time, but she did. "You've maintained your appearance," she observed, her gaze roaming over me. I settled down, attempting to hide my unease. "Thanks," was my reply, as I searched for the reason behind her visit. She seemed transformed. Motherhood had softened her countenance. "I want you to return home," she requested, her voice filled with hope and longing. A wave of anger washed over me, but I composed myself. After taking a deep breath, I retorted, "Why should I disregard the aftermath of your affair and the child you conceived with him?" "I won't feign harmony," she admitted. "Fun times can't be indulged without considering the consequences. It's not in my nature to accept you carrying another man's child." Maddie cast her eyes down. "Aaron, you need to return home. I need you and your daughter." My temper flared. "Frankly, I don't have a daughter." You and your partner should take care of it. Return home." Her voice trembled as she beseeched, "But we were married for 4 years, and I love you. You know you love me too. Come back." I looked at her, my anger held in check. "If your love for me was sincere, why did you stay with him? Consider that." "You'd explain that," I challenged. Maddie searched for the right words. "Can you just ponder it over? I miss you, and I know you'd make a wonderful father." I was taken aback by her presumption. Moments later, Amelia entered, exuding natural elegance in form-fitting jeans and a sleeveless top. Immediately, I approached her, gave her a kiss, and embraced her. "Amelia, this is Maddie. I encountered her in Ireland." Amelia swiftly appraised Maddie, then looked back at me. "Aaron, we must depart for dinner with my parents at 6. "Maddie's about to leave," I stated decisively. "We've said everything necessary." However, Maddie was reluctant to go. "Aaron, it's crucial that we have a serious discussion about the current situation," she persisted, her voice quivering. Amelia intervened. "Maddie, we must depart immediately. Aaron and I have places to be. My parents are strict about punctuality. I hope you understand." Amelia fixed Maddie with a stern gaze. If this were a brawl in a pub, the crowd would be abuzz. I wasn't going to listen to Maddie's entreaties. She was involved with another man and had a child with him. I felt compassion for the child, but not for Maddie. She should have pondered the repercussions before her infidelity. Informed by my attorney Jimmy about court proceedings nearing the end of my divorce, Maddie was set to acquire our house and over $90,000 in savings. It was an expensive learning experience, but I had no immediate intention of replacing Maddie. My plans involved staying in Ireland for additional months, practicing medicine locally, and contemplating my subsequent actions. However, life often deviates from its intended course. Unexpectedly, a red-haired woman disrupted me. I entrusted our baby with my parents, hoping to rekindle Aaron's desire to reunite by illustrating what he was missing. Losing the pregnancy weight and fitting back into my size 6 jeans had been challenging tasks, yet I even brought Aaron's preferred perfume. This woman arrived, and her Chanel scent filled the air. She should not assume that I will relinquish easily. My lodging is cramped with limited space between bed and desk and an antiquated TV. It leaves me wondering how people manage to live this way. I have to locate food and contact my mother. She's distressed about caring for the baby and receives many inquiries from friends who are unaware of my adoption. I don't believe she's correcting them. What on earth? This woman managed to come to Ireland. How did she track me down? I assume one of my chatty relatives revealed it. She should have heeded her attorney. The divorce is almost complete. There's no going back. We're done. I was delighted to see Amelia. She suggested meeting my parents, though I'm unsure if she was serious. I took her out for dinner, brought her back to my humble apartment, and prepared breakfast for her the following morning. Last night after dinner, I strolled around the village. It's nothing remarkable, and I don't comprehend what Aaron finds appealing about this place. They label restaurants as pubs, which is short for public house. I discovered Aaron works only 3 days a week, and the locals disclosed quite a bit about him. At the hotel managed by Mary and Bill, Mary hinted that Aaron was a town icon. Upon recognizing me, she swiftly left. Overhearing their hushed conversation, I learned about my upcoming encounter with Aaron at his clinic. A teenager greeted me there, evidently aware of my presence. Unfortunately, Aaron wasn't available since it was his surgery day at Trilly Hospital. As he was occupied all week, I had to wait until next Monday to meet him. Spending the day exploring the city and drinking disappointing coffee, the foggy weather made the city feel diminished. Uncertain about where to wait or if Aaron was residing elsewhere, I sought more information. Receiving a call from Garda, I learned an American woman named Mrs. Brown, staying with Mary and Bill, had inquired about Dr. Brown. It appeared that this was indeed Mrs. Brown trying to persuade Aaron to return to Albany. Urgent action was required. Mary told me Maylene Brown attended the doctor's office while Aaron was at Trilly for surgery. I needed to ensure Mrs. Brown stayed away from Aaron. Luckily, Constable Amelia Kelly, a captivating woman who is shifting from policing to studying law at Trinity College Dublin, is part of my team. She's bound to excel. I conversed with Mary and Bill, who had to shut their bed and breakfast due to a safety issue. I advised Mrs. Brown to leave promptly. Bill gathered her belongings, reimbursed her payment, and reserved a room for her at the nearest Killarney hotel. Despite her anger, Mrs. Brown comprehended the situation's urgency for our town. The hotel forced her departure, citing a health inspector. Now I'm being dispatched to Killarney, a place unknown to me, amidst heavy rain. I'm growing tired of Ireland. My mother is phoning, asking when I'll return home. One email notification informs me that my maternity leave concludes next week, necessitating a return to work. The man I've dated, best Aaron, should meet my parents. Despite my infidelity, he maintains high standards. However, our relationship will soon end because I am relocating to Dublin for law school in August. To adjust and prepare for my new life, I must focus solely on myself. Furthermore, celibacy is not a lifestyle I can maintain in Dublin given my inclinations towards intimacy. It wouldn't be fair to Aaron while I engage with other men, so an early breakup seems best. Information from the Castle Roy Gossip Network, or CGN, indicates that Amelia aims for law school, and Nicole confirms she's been accepted and will start in August. Amelia is outgoing, and I recognize we won't be a lasting match. I'll inevitably be waiting until she moves on, which will mark the end for me. To maintain my own mental well-being, I must recall that our relationship is casual and temporary, without expressing any irrational feelings like professing love. Moreover, there are individuals I wish to explore further. The doctor the Department of Health pledged to assign hasn't shown up, with no communication received so far, leading me to contact the Tralee Hospital directly. No updates have been provided despite the passing of several weeks. Amelia and I parted amicably, both aware that our arrangement was fleeting and purely for pleasure. It's been several months since Amelia Kelly departed for Dublin. With my work and Matilda occupying much of my time, my social life has dwindled. I was taken aback when Aaron invited us to the fair in Killarney over the weekend. Given Amelia's departure, I assumed he was feeling lonely and desired companionship. As for myself, I was yearning for male company. Matilda eagerly started packing, despite our departure not being until Saturday afternoon. When Saturday arrived, I had forgotten that Aaron owned a motorcycle, expecting him to arrive in my car. Instead, he showed up in an Audi sedan, temporarily leased due to arrangements by the mayor of Castle Roy for his frequent journeys to Tralee. Matilda settled into the back seat, but I made her exit to install her child's seat. The fair proved exciting. Matilda appreciated the rides, candy floss, and unhealthy snacks, holding Aaron's hand throughout. He appeared to enjoy the day, and following the fair, we dined out and returned to my house. I welcomed Aaron indoors, where Matilda, already in her nightclothes, led him to her room for a bedtime story. She was a deep sleeper due to the food and fresh air, he said half an hour later. I offered him a glass of wine. "You deserve this," I said. "How do you manage everything?" he asked. "I don't dwell on it, I simply act." He was bewildered. "How could your former spouse reject her? Not all men are fit to be fathers." "He belongs to that category." Aaron took a sip of wine. "If she were mine, I wouldn't manage. Matilda is my everything. Taking a sip doesn't mean I don't crave more." "What do you desire?" We conversed long into the night about his past deception and his ex-wife's unfaithfulness. He regretted her lack of honesty about not wishing to stay married. Now divorced, he was enjoying his new independence and vowed not to repeat old mistakes. He aimed to be certain of his future decisions. In the meantime, Matilda appeared to be growing fond of him as a potential new father figure. "I wanted to inform you, your divorce has been legally concluded for some time. I've forwarded the original decree and retain a copy if needed. You're solo in Ireland, and there are potential hazards associated with it." To which you replied gratefully, "Jimmy, I really appreciate it." Jimmy merely responded, "I'll settle your bill when I can." You felt anxious upon Maddie's arrival. What was her intention? You shook your head. Her family was outraged and demanded she straighten up. She came to give you one last chance, but when you declined, she departed back home. She continues to grapple with single parenthood. Jimmy questioned about the baby's father. He's preoccupied with his own problems and ignores Maddie. You clarified. He fears she might request child support, something he can't afford. Jimmy scoffed at this statement. That's ludicrous. When are you returning or staying in Ireland? You were uncertain of your plans. I'm undecided, you conceded. It's unlike anywhere else, but I find it appealing. I met a remarkable woman who could make me extremely content. She's a nurse practitioner with a 4-year-old daughter. What? Jimmy exclaimed in surprise. Yes, you continued. She's intelligent, attractive, and an exceptional mother. The child isn't mine, but she didn't deceive me as Maddie did. Instead, she told me the truth. Maddie betrayed and lied to me. Upon discovering I wasn't the father, it was a harsh reality. That's when I realized the marriage was over and I had to leave Albany. You've certainly achieved that, Jimmy said with a nod. Thank you for your assistance, I replied, feeling a sense of resolution. Aaron, it's time, Laura said urgently. Oh no, I'll grab the bag now, I responded quickly, getting the packed bag from the closet and preparing to go to the car. I called the hospital to let them know we were on our way. My parents were already there, worrying as we arrived. Matilda hugged us both and said, "Bring me home a baby brother." I laughed while helping Laura into the car. The Garda had arranged a police escort to the hospital in Tralee. 9 hours later, our child was born. I made a mental note that the next child might be the brother Matilda wanted. My parents and Matilda came to the hospital to meet the baby girl. Annabelle Marie Brown remained unperturbed by the attention, grasping my finger as I held hers. Indeed, I hold the ultimate decision. I consider myself fortunate to have encountered a man who was dedicated to being a family man from the start. Aaron has accepted the role of husband and father with dedication. He belongs to me, yet I'll share him with Matilda, Annabelle, and possibly more. I fail to comprehend women who do not acknowledge their good fortune. Erin's previous partner erred, and her mistake proved advantageous to me. She made a mistake and lost him due to it. When Erin and I crossed paths, it was by mere chance, but I am thankful. I believe Erin feels the same way. We have become a family, and should anyone attempt to disrupt our bond, I will respond accordingly. As an Irish wife and mother, I do not condone other women expressing interest in my husband, including yourself, Amelia Kelly.